Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back, council and staff. We do apologize for our delay. We've had some technical difficulties, but it appears that they are all been corrected and we're moving forward. Today is Wednesday, July the 30th, better known as International Day of Friendship. I would remind those who are with us in person to please ensure that all your communication devices are either shut off or placed on vibrate, please. This meeting will be streamed live and recorded for public viewing on the town's YouTube page. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, the Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinaabe. It is through the connection of the Anishinaabe with the spirit of the land, the water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together, as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect to the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future for those generations to come. Council, I would remind you, if you have a pecuniary interest, to please declare it at the appropriate time. So we'll go to the first item on our agenda this evening is our delegation at 4.1. It's with Heather and Bryce Moore and Lynn and David Clark regarding Douglas Line drainage assessment for 4089 and 4099 Douglas Line. Council, before we can hear that delegation, it's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're going to get there.
It's the next one. Sorry. Yep. So we're going to have is there a PowerPoint for this one? Okay, if we can get that up. And either the Moores or the Clarks, who's going to be speaking first?
I will.
Okay, and sir, your name?
Bryce Moore.
Bryce, pleasure to have you with us, Bryce. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're speaking for everybody, or are the Clarks going to be speaking as well?
I'll speak for everybody. If I miss something, whatever, or they have a different vantage point, they'll chime in.
You got good backup, right? Excellent. You do, as the clerk is, you have 15 minutes, so.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Yes, first of all, thank you for this opportunity for us to communicate our questions, comments, and concerns over this item that we're working through right now. We hope that it's productive for the town, and obviously we're hoping that it's productive for us too at the end of the day. I won't go into the details too much of the first page there, but anyways, thank you. And Aaron, thank you for the guidance on getting this point, and I'll stay in my lane here. The agenda that I wanted us to follow here is basically the introductions to who we are, why we're here, and whatnot. Review a bit of the timeline of what has came about for us. Find out the purpose, the original purpose of what has happened right from day one, and then just sort of do a little bit of a review of again what we are and what we had to go through to get here, and then provide some final thoughts. Who we are. I'm Bryce Moore, my wife Heather, David and Lynn Clark. We represent lot 1 and 8, 6 and 9 respectively, and it's right off of Douglas Line. Okay. More so to who we are. We're basically a retired couple that bought this land. We've been landowners, residents of the county of Plympton. I'll say for us, we've been 34 years, and the Clarks have been homeowners for 42 years. So forgive us. This is something new for us coming in to talk to council. Usually we just pay our bill. Life is good. We move on type of thing. So anyways,
Just to assure you, we don't bite.
okay.
I've been on that side and I've been through too, so just relax and just share with us what you have.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to summarize also on the lots here, I guess from our understanding, when we purchased this is like a retirement cottage country from the 1940s that has evolved, obviously. The 1940s cottages are no more. The lots that are placed there were basically from that vintage. We've have one house on lot 8 and 1, and the Clarks have one house on lot 6 and 9 and 16 and 9. And the reason I say that is there's 2 drainage lines going to each lot, just for reference. Now, again, this is estimated. I wanted to make sure you are well aware of that. The timeline that we are well aware of, and the green is more on the developer's timeline. We are the blue on the timeline, and then the town is yellow, but obviously the town's been involved from day one. So if I can start out with the 2019, actually in 2018, there was the developer approached the town for some drainage work. It was formalized in a contract in 2019-ish. The services were installed in the 2021 era. And then that's where we got involved, where as far as the end of 2021, we purchased the lot from a group. The Clarks purchased theirs from another group in the 2021 era in that timeline. And then from 2021 on, that's sort of a gray area for us as far as what happened, as far as where the developers went in their actions. So, and then here we are today, July 2nd. That's when we received this letter saying we owed so much money. Thank you, Paul, for at least slowing the spinning in our heads a little bit after meeting with you there. So hopefully we can get some more answers here, have a better understanding of what's required. So a review of the contracts, and again, we're talking multiple levels here. There's the initial contract between the developer and the town of Plympton-Wyoming. Started way back when. We had our own contracts that we had to deal with as well. The real estate, we had to purchase it from other people. You know, we had lawyers involved. We did our due diligence, no surprises. The point I wanted to make here was the fact that when we did the procurements of our land, the lawyers went through and sort of vetted it and make sure everything was okay. There'd be no surprises. We purchased it as advertised in the real estate as far as being fully serviced. So in our minds, our contract, we bought lots that were fully serviced and we paid for it at that market level. Because the developer flipped that through. So that's the point that I wanted to make here with the contracts, both the towns and then what we're dealing with as well. So the gray area or the unknowns here that I was hoping to get some answers as far as what Plympton-Wyoming had to go through with the developer. Right now, I'll leave it at that for now, but we'll touch on it a little bit later. The invoice confusion that we got, it's a combined $34,960. And the reason I bring this up and the reason I introduce ourselves as retired is we have a budget. We draw our income from our retirement fund. That's how we have to manage our lifestyle. Now we have this on top of it. And if I can just put this into context, for us to pay this bill, for every dollar that we have to pay, we have to draw that out of our retirement fund. Now, we're at a certain tax bracket, and hopefully your eyes don't glaze over. The accounting people, I will know who you are just by the fact that you know what I'm talking about. But the fact of the matter is, for every dollar that we take out, we're going to have to pay the provincial and federal government at that tax level, probably about 42 cents on that dollar. And then we have to pay taxes on that 42 cents that we had to pay the government again. So at the end of the day, that $1 could turn into $1.86. Almost double what this $34,000 is going to be. So that $34,000 to us is going to be closer to $60,000. And I never even brought into the old age security thing too, because for every dollar we take beyond a certain level, old age security is going to do some clawbacks. So this is hitting us in every pocketbook that we have. So that's the contract that we have with Revenue Agency, the Canadian Revenue Agency. So again, to recap our contract, and it's basically almost the same. The Clarks purchased theirs from private owner, and it was understood with all the services being included. And again, we paid for it at that market level. If it wasn't at that market level, we'd say, hey, shave off a little bit because we're going to have to be accountable for it. We're both in the same boat. So having that understanding that the drainage is included is basically why we have a concern here. And now the green, again, this is between the town and the developer and the contract of 2019. So I can't really speak too much to that, except the fact that there was a contract in place. Okay. Some of the questions that we have here are as far as the agreement that you have with the developer and how why the timeline, I guess, is the biggest thing, because that's where our head is spinning again, as far as never mind the $34,000, but this timeline of the services were put in. Our lawyers should have picked it up before we did the procurement. And then here we are in 2025, like how did this happen? So any information that you can help shed light on that one would be appreciated as far as that goes, because we witnessed some of the work that was done. It was great. Everything was good. We're assuming that the town or whoever installed it, they were paid like within 2 weeks of doing the services. Why wasn't the town paid for their work from the developers, I guess, within, a timely manner here too? So that was one of the questions that we had here. In this, I don't know if you had a chance to watch the YouTube link, but it's a 17-minute one. I just condensed a smaller clip here I'd like to show you, and it's one of the developers. It's basically acknowledging the responsibility of the developers. There's volume on this, that'd be great.
With our technical difficulties, we hope there is.
Yeah.
Pause that volume because it will reverb.
Can't.
Let go do it.
It'll reverb.
Oh, okay.
Back and careful.
Send both those links. Speak to council.
Can we get those links to us?
You have it in their agenda,
Oh, in the
and I did watch the.
I don't need to play it. If I could summarize the 45 seconds there. Basically, this gentleman, the developer, one of the developers, is very well aware of the responsibility of the developer, the requests of making the initial request for drainage services, having the engineering report, reviewing it, following the guidelines of the town, and fulfilling it, putting money up front, putting a retainer, and then being prepared to conclude it with the added cost, because no one knows what that cost is going to be until the end of the day. And he speaks to that fairly well. So if you do get a chance to use it, like, again, this is me summarizing him, but let that be your guide there. So the developer is very well aware of these after costs that now that we're incurred. And this is the part that's confusing. Like we're still wondering why are you dealing with us is basically the bottom line. So if you do get a chance to look at that, please do. Make sure I didn't miss anything here. Yeah, the developers, both of them are around, and anyways, I will just leave it at that. Actually, in a comparison analogy, we were given our invoice July 2nd, and then with 30 days to pay, and then again with anyways, I choose my words properly here. I don't know the situation with the developer if they had 3 years to pay. That's normally in the business world that I deal with, 30 days, 45 days, that's the flow of accounts receivable, that type of situation there. So again, every situation is different. So again, going back to the original contract, which is what we're trying to, I guess, focus on here. And it's the agreement, the contract between the developer and the town. And we're the third party. We were benefiting from that, from our procurement of the lot afterwards. So The work was completed and with partial payment from the developers. Holding fee, I think, was in place and enacted on that. And now the balance owing is the one issue at hand. And how that is being resolved. It seems the Drainage Act is using us as the path of least resistance. So, is this normal business practice to have a 3-year delay? Obviously not. I'm not too sure about the whole situation that you're dealing with, and it's not my business to know that either. But again, it's just doesn't seem right with what's going on right now. The developers are still active. They should still be held accountable for their agreed process and profit that they have with this, and why it's coming on our shoulders. I guess that's the concern that we have here. Sure I don't miss anything here. So that was basically the Coles footnotes of what you have there. So this part, I'll just say, so we feel that even though the Drainage Act allows for this transferring of costs to the landowners, we feel that it is unethical and not a good business practice to forfeit a contract with a contractor who has profited from this service. We as a third party have already paid for this service in our market level mind with the purchase of the lot. And we think this is very unfair. We should not be held accountable for someone else's debt. And as witnessed in the developer's video, if you get a chance to watch it, they are aware of their responsibilities to their contract that they have signed. And as such, they should be held accountable. So we just ask that the invoice that we have here be waived against us and the pursuit of the proper parties be in place, whatever that looks like. And as far as the responsibility goes there. I guess to step back from that, and it seems like everybody that we talk to about this our situation, it's like we're shocked. Why are we going through this? So we can't be the only ones that have this vantage point here. So that's why I'm hoping that this communication meeting with you can have an appreciation for what we are going through. So and then reading more into the act, like, is this common? Do you see this as a common issue with property owners, or is it more of a farm type of issue that comes up more than residential? If there can be a differentiation of it, I know the act says one thing and it's all encompassing, but ours, I think, is very, very unique. That
if I can, Mr. Morgan, I'm going to ask Mr. Sabansky to respond to that part.
So the town of Plympton-Wyoming uses the Drainage Act as essentially a user pay system for stormwater management. The only stormwater infrastructure that's included in your general tax bill is intended to fund the roadways. There is no other stormwater infrastructure included in general taxes. That's because we do all of our work for stormwater through the Drainage Act, which the road is a property owner under the Drainage Act. So the road authority is a property owner, same as you. And so the road pays their portion, all the property owners pay their portion. And that's how we maintain our stormwater management systems in the town of Plympton-Wyoming. And we've done that historically because we have a mixed rural urban community, and we feel that's the most efficient way because farmers through the Drainage Act pay into the user pay system, and our urban residents pay in the same way. So instead of having a two-tiered system where one pays through property taxes and the other pays through the Drainage Act and through property taxes, we felt that's the most fair. I think one thing that there is a bit of new information here that we may not have had before. This is technically a legal matter that has got us to this point. So I think we definitely would like to take all this great information that you've provided us, consult with our legal counsel. We'd be bringing a report back to council, and then we'd have discussions with yourselves after that meeting. Legal matters are discussed in closed typically, so we would be talking in public about that, but we would certainly be in contact with you shortly after we've consulted with legal and counsel themselves.
repeat that.
Clark?
Mr. Spence, is it okay if I should? Just a point of reference, we were informed or from what my understanding of the act is, it provides a direct benefit to drainage, excuse me, the drainage provides a direct benefit to the properties that are affected. I do not see any direct benefit to our properties at this time. Yes, the laterals were put across, my property, which is 9 and 16. Do not have any direct tie-in to that drainage. When that drainage system was completed, our property still flooded. Right? So at expense to ourselves, in the realm of, I think it was between $6,000 and $7,000 that we had to outlay as an additional cost to install our own personal drainage system. And we did, I honestly will admit that we did take advantage of the lateral to tie that French drain into. But as far as what was constructed, previously constructed, we received no upfront benefit from it. We had to create the benefit ourselves.
So the drainage act is large in a sense, so if your property's water finds its way to the lake, you are responsible for that water. So all your water is supposed to, sometimes it doesn't, but it's been given access to that drain. That drain goes through the bluff and out to the lake, and any property who drains into it is considered to have a benefit. Directly drains into it is considered to have a benefit, and therefore they do have to pay that. So the Drainage Act portion, most definitely your property would have a benefit through the Drainage Act. But I think today.
Sorry, my apologies, because I went to the further act and adding my own drainage system in order to tie to it.
But the Drainage Act would only bring it to your property. You're responsible on your own lands for your own drainage. So you're paying for that connection point essentially. But again, there was some good information here. I think there is definitely enough information that we need to reconsult with our lawyers and bring new information back to council, and then we'll go from there.
Thanks, sir.
Murray, you got that?
Yeah.
We have a few minutes just to add something.
You sure can.
Okay,
Yeah, this is.
so I'm Lynn Clark, and I just wanted to talk about the emotional.
Go to the lecture.
Sure.
Right, we want to make you at home.
I just want to make a comment about the emotional part of it, and sorry if I get emotional myself, but it was devastating to get these 2 letters. So we got a letter for each property. So the first, I think, when we got these letters, it was shock. Because we billed for over $17,000 for drainage fees that we weren't even aware of, because we had understood it was already paid for or going to be paid for by the previous developer. Another emotion was anger. We were being billed for drainage fees that were the responsibility of the developers. And again, we thought that we paid for that in the purchase price of our properties. And then anxiety. How are we going to pay for this, especially in the 30-day timeline? And I know that was somewhat waived, but we still have questions about the letter and the charges for the interest and the percentage of interest that's going to be paid. And what was that letter, that form called? The debenture form, and really don't understand the debenture. If it's my correct thinking is that we have can only pay that off in 3 years and not pay extra payments or pay it down if we get extra money somewhere. And then the overall feeling of disappointment that Plympton-Wyoming felt that it was necessary step to take when the developers should be accountable through the full court process. So I respect you, but I'm very disappointed. And these letters maybe could have been drafted differently. Maybe something else could have been done differently, but it was devastating to us to get those letters. Thank you.
Well, then let me assure you, we do not want to upset you. And I think so you can sleep tonight and move forward. Don't worry about that interest in the 30 days. We're going to talk about that, okay? And when as Mr. Sabansky said, we'll be consulting legal, so we want you to just rest assured that won't be pushing towards you at this time, okay? And Mr. Moore, I want to thank you for your presentation. It was very informative. And we'll be talking about this and definitely getting that to you guys, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll remind council that we have drainage at 6 o'clock, so regardless of where we are in the agenda, we will be stopping for our drainage meetings at 6. So we're going to go to our next item on the agenda, which is a presentation from Sawmill Creek. But before we do, we have to remind you that there was a motion put forth by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Van Claveren, that the report provided in closed session regarding item C be received and the drainage superintendent be directed to send notice for the removal of obstructions as per section 80 of the Drainage Act to the owner of the properties known as Plympton Concession 9 plot 9 and Plympton Concession 9 lot 8 concession front plot 19 north of Egremont RP 25R 3867 part 5. And that motion at that time was carried to reconsider this and discuss it. With this delegation that has been requested, I need to have a motion put back on the floor. Councilor Rodriguez, I believe you were prepared to move that again. Since Councilor Van Claveren is not with us in person, is there a seconder for that motion? Councilor Wolbett, all those in favor for that motion to come back? That's carried. So that motion can come back. So at this time, Lauren, you're going to be doing the presentation.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
If you want to sign that.
Thanks very much for opening us up for reconsideration. My name's Lauren Mulig. I'm a resident, an owner of the residences of Sawmill Creek in that community right across from Sawmill Creek Golf Course. I've been retired for about 6 years. My background is 42 years in power operations. I'm a second-class power engineer. I worked heavy industry around the area for that length of time. And so my wife and I, we retired out to Sawmill Creek 6 years ago. And we love the community. We like the golf course. We're not avid golfers, but we try hard, like everybody. And but anyways, I became involved with the golf course and the family that bought it like 5 or 6 years ago off of Golf Fest, if you remember them. They were around forever. And it got sold I think it's 6 years ago. And the family took it. It sort of went down and it's coming back now. There was a title change a couple of years ago. The 2 sons own it now, for your information. And my boss is this fellow over here, Angad. He came all the way from Toronto today to sit here and listen to this presentation about what I'm about to ask you. So it's about the McFarland Drain. I think you folks know more about it than I do. Okay, I've been involved in it forever. As soon as I was over there helping out a little bit 4 or 5 years ago, that's all I heard was about the drain and the level and the creek leading into the pond on our golf course proper, and the weir. And apparently there's a lot of complaints about the level in the creek always being too high, right? So you had a lot of feedback from the residents, fair enough, upstream, leading into the golf course holding pond. And so you formed the task team. You did the right thing. I thought it was great. And you know who the task team was part of it. It was led by Elizabeth Cummings, and the point engineer on the whole project was Mike Garrett. And isn't that sort of ironic, who owned the golf course originally, right? I think it was his uncle, or is it grandfather? I think. No, it was his uncle, I think. Yeah, Bill Garrett. So we've had a few conversations about that over the last couple of years. So I think in 2020, you started this task force and you're doing all the right things to try and get to I try to identify the issues in the creek drainage and to address the concerns of the residents and the community. Fair enough. So the hydrology study was done by R. Dobbin Engineering. It identified various bottlenecks in the creek where branches, sediment, debris impeded the flow of the drainage water into the pond. So there was, and I think there's still trouble spots that way. So the team was they were very communicative with the affected residents upstream, with the owners of the residences of Sawmill Creek, and with the owners of the golf course. They were very transparent. They had meetings with us. And so in August 9th, 2021, they held two meetings with the residents of Sawmill Creek to keep us up to date and what the findings were of the hydrology report. And it basically said, they had surveyors, like Mike enlisted, and he hired surveyors. Okay, you're saying that the pond is higher and it's holding up the water and the creek water leading into it. Then, well, we gotta prove that, right? If that's right, let's see what we're dealing with. Let's identify it. Got the surveyors in, they did it, and lo and behold, the top of the outlet weir on the pond was 1 foot higher than the inlet coming from the drainage creek water feeding into the pond. So that was identified, right? So he told that to us when he had that meeting. So there was a lot of discussions at that meeting about how the different options of what to do to remediate that and create the drainage flow that was needed to drain that creek and have it mostly dry. I think the goal of the team was to have it mainly dry all the time. Not in rainfalls. It's going to get wet. It's going to fill up. But when it's drier, it's always sitting and is dormant and there's no rainwater. It drains down. So that was discussed, different options, lowering of the weir, notching the weir was discussed then, right down to an outlet box right in the pond. That was a huge investment, a couple of $100,000. And that was going to be borne by the owners of Sawmill Creek Golf Resort. So it sort of went in limbo there for a year or two. And I think COVID had something to do with that. Like it sort of, well, we didn't hear too much about it. But then in I think it was the fall of 2023, Mike Garrett, he contacted the golf course. We sort of reconnected with him and then Elizabeth. And they had an idea. He had been out there a lot and we had interacted, him and I, about the pond. And there's this, I don't know whether you know this or not, but there's this drain that goes around the weir. Okay, it goes into a valve pit, goes through a valve that's open, and it discharges on the downstream side, the golf course side of the weir. So we wanted to see if you drain the water down at least 12 to 18 inches, that if you had it a holding pattern there, like the surveyor said, it was 12 inches higher than the inlet. If you drained it down less than the 12 inches, would have drained the creek. So I spent the winter sourcing this silly drain pipe and the couplings and everything else. And he paid the bills to, and my labor to be in the pond, toiling with his standpipe. There's the pictures of it. And finally got it in June of last year, okay, 2024. And put her in service, and it started draining down in the drier times when there wasn't rain. It drained the level down to about 15 inches below the inlet. So if you looked at the pond, it wasn't up to the level in the weir. It was down 15 inches from the top of the weir. And lo and behold, the creek feeding into the pond drained down. Like within 4 or 5 days, that creek went from being like that down to a trickle of water, like 6 inches. So it proved what he wanted to prove. that if you notch the weir down at least lower than the creek water feeding into it, and you keep the channel ways feeding it into the pond and downstream of the pond on the golf course side, if you keep them free of the debris, sediment, branches, a lot of stuff goes over there. And like, especially in heavy rains, that creek will, flush some branches, stuff, it gets hung up downstream. You keep it all clear, it'll drain. And that's exactly what happened. It was proven. So fast forward to spring of this year, the task force came up with their final recommendations. And the recommendations were to make sure all the channelways are all clear. Coming into the golf course, on the golf course, upstream of the golf course, okay? Up through the municipality, around the curve. Make sure all that stuff was done, and then to notch the weir. So that was done, right? That was accepted, okay? So that was communicated to everybody in the one meeting that the task force had. I forget what month it was April, I think it was March or April of this year. So the golf course ownership, they were waiting for that sort of not guarantee, but the outcome of this task force is make sure everything's clear. You're gonna notch it down that far. And if you do that, that waterway coming in that everybody's complaining about has always got a lot of standing water in it, is gonna be drained. It'll be dry. So having heard that, what they did is they started investing heavily into the clubhouse. Okay? So I don't know whether you folks have been out there golfing lately, the last month or so. In June, they went out, they pretty much shut the clubhouse down for a month. They remodeled the banquet hall, the restaurant, the hotel rooms. Everything's been redone. Okay, you got brand new HVAC units up on the roof to the banquet hall. Okay, they did the wedding pergola outside last year. They invested 10 or 15 grand in bringing that back, right? A lot of it was done for future events that they're planning. It's sort of a progress that they're doing. They did the golf course, it's back. Now they're doing the clubhouse. They're trying to bring it back at all costs that. So they're doing it, and they got a business plan, and I gotta hand it to them. They're sticking to it. And but they're waiting to, the pond's part of special events. When people come out there, they don't want to see a dried up pond. Okay, especially people that are trying to book weddings. That used to be a wedding destination place. You know that as well as I do. It's been out there for decades. Okay, if you drain that pond by lowering that weir right down, it's just gonna look like, I've got pictures. Well, there it is there. Look at it. There's that standpipe, okay, that I'm talking about. Hang on here. Okay, so there's the standpipe that I put to bypass the pond weir, the outlet, okay? And you'll see how much lower it is down. So the task team's recommendation, I remember talking to Mike about this. He said, look, I got three parties that I'm trying to satisfy, and Elizabeth. It's the ownership of the golf course. They got a business they're trying to run. We don't want to ruin it. So what they wanted was at least to have a level in there where you can put the water fountain in there still. It'll be 1.5 to 2 feet lower if we notch the weir, but he'll still have his water there so he can have his wedding. When people come out there, they get their pictures taken over the pond. You're gonna have that effect. There's someone else that's gonna chime in and represent the owners of Sawmill Creek. And he'll explain how it's affecting them over there too, after I'm done. So that's what he wanted to, is that the residents. They wanted it for visuals, and it's to maintain the market value of their homes over there. And then it was gonna take care of the residents upstream that are concerned about the level of water in the creek. I've been up around that curve, on the Kaimaki curve, and like I've heard all the time, There's 2 feet of water in that creek. I've gone up in the back of those houses, which are 100 feet back in the back, deep backyards. And I've looked in the creek and there's no more than 6 inches in there. You know, and then when we did the drain line, there was nothing in there. It drained. So I know it's gonna work. I put it in, I did it. And I did what Mike said, Mike Garrett. The test was affirmative and it works, right? So he's trying to get a compromise deal. So what the compromise was clear all the waterways to and from it, make sure they're kept clear, notch the weir, and things should be good. Like you can't. There was a heavy rain. I think it was in May. One of the upstream owners came over the day I was there, and it was flooded out. The course was flooded out. It was, and they're like, his comment was, "I've been here for 38 years, living around the corner. I've never seen a rain like this before." Like I'm sure a lot of other places have flooded out in the past too, right? Around town, in Sarnia. I'm sure after that torrential rain, it was a one in, just like the fella said, it was 1 in 40 years. That fella never once mentioned or complained about it flooding my basement out. Not once. He never said it. He was actually just retrieving a box, a toolbox or something that had floated off his bank down the river. He was actually coming to get it, right? So anyways, so that's like what we're here for is so the negative effects of the pond weir removal. A totally drained pond would basically eliminate or severely limit the Sawmill Creek's ability to market future wedding events. Like their financial losses are going to be substantial. If you take that huge, the step of lowering the pond right down, and that this being a 5-foot pit, it's how are you going to market it, right? So it also, with that there, the wall does, even if it was up 3.5 feet, which would be where it would be, it's 5 feet from the top of the weir right now to the floor bank. I measured it, that's what it is. If it's down to 3.5 feet, let's say, it's holding some water back and it moderates the amount of water coming through. So it'll control the surge through downstream of the golf course. If you had that right down, it'd wash out and do a lot of damage to the golf course downstream of that pond. That's what's going to happen. Okay, it's been identified in that hydrology report that some of the bridges aren't the way they should be, and they are going to be replaced, but it'll do damage downstream. Okay, and then there's another part too. I talked to the health unit, and they said if you have stagnant water, what do you call it? Shallow, stagnant water in the middle of the summer with no aeration in the heat of the summer, you're going to have, it's a huge breeding atmosphere environment for mosquitoes and West Nile virus. That's what it is. So if you look at what they've done here at the Sawmill Creek Golf Course, you know, they're bringing it back. 3 years ago, they had 8 members on that golf course. They've got 200 members right now and a waiting list. Like, it's obvious what they're doing is right and is being received well by the community. It's a golf destination place. They are a major employer of local citizens, numbering 30 to 35 employees right now. And they're also trying to refurbish everything for decades to come. I'm pretty sure that's what their business plan is. So what are we asking for tonight? So we're here to ask the council to reconsider the lowering of the wall totally to the bottom. We'd like you to take one step back and allow us to clear everything out, okay? Before it gets on the course, after the pond, on the course. Clear everything out and allow us to actually follow what your own task team's recommendations were, which is notch it down 18 to 20 inches. They're willing to do it as soon as possible, whatever you want. If it doesn't work, then okay. But we've already proven by your own task team, it does work. So that's what we're asking for you to do, is maybe reconsider, take a step back, honor the recommendations from your own task team, and we'll see what happens, okay? So that's it in a nutshell, folks.
Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, oh, here, yeah, so, oh, it doesn't. Sorry about that. Like, so here's the new HVAC units. They went up last Friday. The deck. That's the 18th hole at Sunset. New pool. Just to give you a little indication. There's the inn, there's the banquet hall. There's the restaurant sitting area. There's the pond the way it is right now. Okay, it's very nice. Like, we think it's nice, okay, visually and everything. So we just like you to think about reconsidering it and maybe let us know. Okay,
I think we have a gentleman online that will speak, and because, although I did say starting drainage at 6, we were 15 minutes late starting, so we will be deferring to drainage, the first one until 6:15.
thank you.
But I believe somebody else is going to be, as asked to speak. It's Claude.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Claude Chasson. I'm one of the presidents on one of the condos, and in this regard, representing the owners. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can, Claude. Just give us a second. We're just trying to make some adjustments here. Step 5. Claude, I think we're good to go. You have 5 minutes, Claude.
Okay, yeah, I want to thank Lauren for a very well done presentation. My comments are considerably shorter. The biggest, one of our biggest concern with draining the pond entirely, and Lauren did touch on it, is the mosquito problem. Over the last few years, Lauren and I have drained that pond twice, working on the bypass system. And both times, I mean, when it's down, the pond's pretty ugly, and the mosquitoes problem gets much worse. Also, because of how close we are to the golf course land, there are 5 homes built along that pond wall that will definitely have some effect on the property values if that's just a hole in the ground, because nobody's going to want to buy that. And three of them are being constructed in the future by Rob Oravac, or from Oravac Homes. And then also our storm drain system ties into that pond. So our entire storm drain system goes through an oil grit separator near the main entrance by the very first house on the property. And it ties into that wall and is flush with the inside of the wall. So if the wall is completely removed, the creek will find its natural course from previous years. And that's going to be about 50 or 60 feet away from where our drain system dumps in there, which is potential problem. Especially if there's no soil remediation, like if that thing is drained 100%, there would need to be some soil added and sloped so that stormwater, rainwater can flow to the creek properly, instead of having what Lauren mentioned, some spots with shallow water. That's going to be a problem with mosquitoes. The other thing I want to point out is the Dobbin hydrology report did note in there that there were many locations on the golf course that weren't properly designed for the culverts and the bridges to take the storm water, and it would back up, but they weren't concerned about it because they highlighted that it would only flood the golf course. It couldn't get back upstream to the owners that are being affected, and that's because of that wall. If that wall is removed and nothing is done on the course, on the very short, intense storms, you will still have water backing up past that wall if it's not there. So that's the items that I had to point out. So I do agree with Lauren that we are just asking that we go back to the previous decision that was made to lower it by the 18 inches. And as Lauren has mentioned, we've put in a standpipe and shown that it keeps the water pretty low back in the upstream side of the creek of the McFarland drain. So that's what I have to say.
All right, thank you, Claude. Council, do you have any questions for either Lauren or Claude? Comments, Council? Council Rodriguez?
Yes, thank you. So I don't really have any questions. I just want to comment and say thank you for bringing all that information forward, to allow us to have a fulsome information when reconsidering something.
Yeah,
So
well, thanks very much.
It's important to be involved in that process.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, like just a last comment, like I think like when the final draft came out, like we were a little surprised, it is a long little journey, right? The 6 years. And I thought it was a really good compromisal solution that was put forth by the team. But when they came up with the final draft and they said, okay, well, we want the wall dropped, everything cleared, the wall dropped by July of 2026. We were a little, there's no knock on the team, but we were a little surprised it was a year later, because I think we were sort of thinking it was going to be 2025. So if you understand, like we thought it'd be a year earlier, and then there was a little delay there. I think it sort of went in limbo there back in 2023, 24. And I think a lot of it had to do with myself personally, COVID, stuff like that. So if those timelines had been like a little tightened up, we probably might not even be talking about this right now. Because I think if the weir would have been notched down, everything cleared out, you'd see that you know what we're telling you and what the team has told you, it's actually true. It will drain. It's going to drain. And when it has drained and it drained adequately, your creek levels are going to be down. They will be. You'll have that surge capacity in a heavy rain. You know, you won't be sitting at a foot or whatever it is now. You'll have that foot down, and then it'll clear it a lot quicker on the other end because the weir will be down 1.5 feet, 2 feet. So it'll de-inventory everything downstream a lot quicker as the heavy rain comes through. So I think it was just, we sort of got caught with the timelines on it too. Okay. Anyways, thanks.
Council Rodriguez?
Thank you. I just have one more. Actually, it is a question. Um, I mean, to me, alternative solution is just make your pond deeper.
Yeah, and that could be an alternative to a solution, and I think that was talked about too, right? Like they want to direct. Well, so if you look at that pond, that pond a little bit is a settling pond. Okay, it's like all that stuff gets washed in the creek, comes around the corner, and then you got a quiescent zone. It's like I don't know how many gallons are in there, so everything just settles. Well, if you notice, if you come over that bridge, the main bridge, and you look down where it's coming in, there's already a bridge of dirt right there. And it's restricting some of the water. So part of the clearing of that, what I'm saying, is gonna be digging that out even now. You see what I mean? Yeah, so, and then, beg your pardon?
It's an ongoing thing when you have a pond.
Yes,
And it rains.
yes, exactly, yeah, so, yeah. But, yeah, so I think there is some, you know, I think they're gonna at least de-bottleneck it right there at the bridge. And then it does need some dredging upstream by the footbridge, by the pool house. And then definitely downstream, okay, where it flows over the weir, you go down there and it's become overgrown. Like it has been a little bit of time since it was clear. You clear it out, it's gonna go. Because we did it, that test, when it was cleared out, and it drained really well. It really did. Okay, anyways, thanks.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Ready?
Drainage questions?
Mr.
Questions?
Hamming or Mr. De Silva? Yeah, sure.
Sure, thank you. And I've been on for 6 years and been dealing with this for 6 years, so
You have.
let's start. So the question is, if we lower the weir, it was suggested, does that take the responsibility off us for anybody upstream? That's what this is all about, is flooding upstream?
Yeah, so through the mayor to council, I guess, yeah, the engineer's designing his stormwater design to a certain level of storm, right? Be it the 1 and 2 or the 1 and 5 year storm design. All drains, as we know, we had that big rain in April. Nothing can handle that much rain. A municipal drain, you can't say it will never flood. There's always a risk of flooding with a municipal drain. With any drainage system, any storm system in town. That basins back up in large events, right? People get water in their basements in large events. It's impossible to design a system that would never flood.
Understandable. So with that, we're out of there. Because right now we're allowing a blockage in the drainage, which we were told we cannot do. If we cut it down, is that adequate enough? To
Well-
alleviate our responsibility, or are we still on the hook if it floods upstream?
Through mayor to council, it would be my opinion that we.
Ryan, we're kind of getting into a liability realm, which we do not typically discuss. You would be lowering the level, which would mitigate flooding levels, but I don't think it's appropriate for staff here to say whether or not that would limit to your liability, as that's not something you typically discuss in open session of council.
Councilor Levesque, anything from you?
Well, it's an interesting discussion, and I've been dealing with this for many years. And I guess the question comes up here because we're faced with complaints from the property owners along Lakeshore Road, and they're flooding. And that's what we're here again for tonight. That's what we've been presented with about the problem and that big rain. Property owners down there getting flooded out. So we have to react on that kind of stuff. We have no choice but to try to deal with it, and that's what we tried to do with the removal of these weirs. And under the Drainage Act, if you take a look at it, you're not supposed to block off these creeks in any means, whether it's to make a fish pond or any kind of a pond. You're dealing with a municipal drain, and there's lots of rules and regulations around them. Everybody in this room knows the complaints that came into this council back in May with this massive rain. And the people that were getting flooded out, and I think we were told, I could be wrong about this, that they're exhausting their insurances because your insurance company will only pay for so many flooded basements. That's a fact. I realize not only at Sawmill Creek, but here in Wyoming and several different other places, there's lots of basements flooded during those rains. But when we get confronted with a complaint about what we're talking about here tonight, we have to act on it. And that's exactly what we were doing. Why we said this thing needs to be drained. Now, listen to this conversation here tonight. There's problems there. There's problems with cleaning it out downstream, upstream. And like, I don't know, I'm not an engineer. And so for me to sit here and question the hydraulic report and the engineer's report and the recommendations, I'm not going to go against the engineer, but I think what Councillor Abasey asked the question, if we go ahead and agree to just lowering it, not taking it out like we're instructed to do, and we're not going to talk about liability here, but we get this rain again and these neighbors are all flooded out, whose doorstep are they going to be back on? They're going to be right here in these council chambers like they were originally. So that's what we're dealing with on this side of the table.
Well, that's to be respected. It really is. It is. But just like that neighbor said, who's been there for 38 years, that's the worst he's ever seen it. It reflects on what Ryan said. Like some of those brief torrential storms, I think they're getting worse. But that one, like I was there that day, and I went. So the one person came and I listened, and the other one came and made the comment, and there was no flooding. All I can tell you is what we thought that task team was formed to do was to address the concerns that the creek was supposed to be kept at the lowest levels. So there's a surge capacity there to handle things like this as much as you could for normal natural rainfalls, right? To a certain limit. And I think we proved that we could do it. The task team, they went through it, the professional surveyors did it. Your engineering group did it, and the compromisal solution that was come out of it was exactly what it was. And it was, the test was proven. It drained. So it's like, we were always under the impression the goal of that team was to show that that creek was at the minimum level it could be. And, you know, and the channels were kept up, like kept clear. I think the biggest thing with it right now is it's sort of in if we've all taken our eyes off of the channels and they've become overgrown a little bit. You look at that pond today, that pond shouldn't be the way it is right now. That pond should be down to the standpipe. It should be down, you should be able to see that standpipe and the water draining. There's a reason why not. It's because downstream, where it goes into the downstream on the golf course side, there's water above there. It's being held up. Water's heavy. So it pushes back on that pipe. So it's draining down only to a certain amount, then it equalizes. All I know is that exhaust pipe around the weir, the wall, that bypass pipe, if it was clear like it was last year, that drainage pipe, you see it, and that inlet line or the inlet creek, if it was cleared out totally upstream of the golf course and on the golf course, it'd be dry. This test was valid, right? And it worked. So we're just asking your consideration and taking a step back and allowing us to do this.
And I think that's fair enough, but I just want you to appreciate the fact
Oh no, I get that.
who we're dealing with here.
Well, honestly, we were sort of really surprised. I think the owner was surprised when he got the phone call that, okay, well, what we told you was going to be what was expected of you by July 26th. It's all off. Drop the wall, and it's got to be done within a month. It sort of upsets him. That didn't upset him. It's just like, well, why the big change?
Well, to be honest with you, it was that heavy rain.
Yes, it was.
And
You're right.
And the flooding.
You're right.
took place.
But just like I said before,
I'm gonna have to cut you guys off. We're out of time. We're circling back around.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So, council, no further questions?
So, I'm sorry,
Yes.
are we gonna be voting right now?
Yes, we.
Because I did want to say something. But reasonings for my decision, but okay, fine.
Real quickly, if I could just add, we definitely want to work with you guys. We're kind of basing a suggestion of 18 to 24 inches off that study that I worked with Mike and Elizabeth on over the past couple of years. If we could potentially, 21 inches, see how it works out, and if it doesn't work out, which we're confident it will, revisit it and work on the removal of the weir at a future date. But the immediate short term, where we have contractors in place that we can match it immediately and get that sorted. And again, if there's future issues, we 100% can revisit it. And if you guys if something ever does come up, which we're confident it won't, we can remove the weir immediately. But just in the short term, just to test this out with everything we've invested into the clubhouse, the facility, we do want to give this a shot. At that point, if it doesn't work, if something ever, we're flooding that last flood happens, we're willing to want to remove the weir at that point for sure. But just want to see if we can come some sort of compromise in the meantime.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over that motion again, and we have heard in the previous meetings, the delegation that presented the homeowner's viewpoint. We've had the opportunity to listen to the golf course and their representative here this evening. So I will read that motion again, and remember, it can be carried, defeated, or deferred. So I'm going to call for the motion on this. It was originally moved by Councillor Rodriguez and seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, but now Councillor Wolvette has seconded. The report provided in closed session regarding item C be received, and the drainage superintendent be directed to send notice for the removal of obstructions as per section 80 of the Drainage Act to the owner of the properties known as Plympton Concession 9 point 9 lot 9 and Plympton Concession 9 lot 8 in front of lot 19 north of Egremont. RP 25R 3867 part 5. So it's the same motion as we had before. So the decision is what we do with it, whether we move it. I'll call Councillor Basie.
If we defeat it once, can we defeat it a second time?
Approved it once.
We approved it.
Yes.
So if we defeat it or defer, if we defer it, does it come back to us again with?
I believe
If you're gonna defer it, it would be to bring back additional information.
if you're gonna, if you defeat it today, there is other options on the table, and we would bring council a report back, or at least ability to bring back some of those other options to be considered.
Council clear on that? You've heard everything?
What's,
Yeah.
what's better in ours, a defeat or like a deferral? Or start off?
You're not gonna get any, if you do not intend to force the golf course to remove the weir this month, then you will want to defeat it. By defeating, it, you are signaling to council or to staff that we will bring back alternatives that have been previously discussed. We will further vet those alternatives, and then council can provide direction on which of the alternatives. Deferral should be only used if you're requesting specific information that would help you make the decision today. But we've already discussed that information enclosed with our lawyers. We've had the information presented to us of about two sides here today, so I don't know how much more information I'd be able to bring back on the deferral that would justify bringing it back at that point in this.
Checking on, thank you.
Council?
Mr. Mayor, if you're going to have council discuss and vote and reiterate on a motion that you've already passed, I'm entitled to speak in regards to that decision before you're making that decision and ask councilors to make that. The information you got from Lauren in regards to the channels and cutting the weir are
Damon?
relative to the money.
Mr. Damon, just hang on a second.
It's the second weir. We are
Out of order, Mr.
I
Damon.
don't care if I'm out of order.
You are.
I'm out $30,000. There's $500,000 worth of liability this council's looking at.
You made your,
And I'm entitled to speak.
you've made your
Actuals.
presentation.
We're talking about engineer, but actuals was that the second weir was totally flooded over. The first weir was underwater. The water flowed so deep that it flooded the second weir over, that flooded back to the village of Kamlaki. So cutting the first weir has no bearing on the flooding.
Mr. Damon, you've made your presentation. We heard it. You have to trust the council to make that decision. You've made your presentation.
Make your decisions on factual information. They show you pictures of a standpipe. That picture was taken when the bridge was being worked on and it was down to zero. The actuals are the water flooded the first weir on May the 2nd, flooded over the first wheel, flooded all the golf course, flooded the second weir, which caused enough hydrology backup to flood the village of Kamlaki, flood our sanitary sewer system, and flood 12 basements in Kamlaki to the tune of $700,000. Thank you very much. I want to know who, okay,
Mr. Damon,
cut the weir. I don't oppose cutting the weir, guys. I have no problem. You want to cut the weir, I'll agree to that. But who's taking the liability? Are you putting up a $10 million bond that my basement doesn't flood again? And all of Valor's properties don't flood? Who's putting up the liability? Go into closed session to discuss that.
Well, you shut everything off. We're gonna take a recess.
Thank you very much.
Damon? Back, Deputy Clerk. Council, you've heard the motion. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Would you read that motion again?
Yes, I will. The report provided in closed session regarding item C be received, and the drainage superintendent be directed to send notice for the removal of obstructions as per section 80 of the Drainage Act to the owner of the properties known as Plympton Concession 9, Lot 9, and Plympton Concession 9, Plot 8, Concession Front Plot 19, north of Egremont, RD, RP 25R 3867, R5. All those in favor? Oh,
There's no one. We had a 5-4.
so I have to vote. Okay, I'm voting for it. That motion's carried. Yes, council, we're gonna take a 5-minute break and then we're gonna begin the drainage meeting right here. Apologize for that. We've had some technical difficulties and then issue went a little longer. I'd like to call the Court of Revision, Plan 28-486 drain. Whether council, I would remind you if you have a pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest at this time, please identify it. Hearing none, I request members to make the appropriate declaration if necessary throughout the business of the meeting. The purpose of the Court of Revision is to hear appeals from landowners regarding the schedule of assessment only, set out in the engineer's report dated May the 21st, 2025 for the Plan 28 and 486 drain. Court of Revision has no authority to change the engineer's report in any way. Schedule of assessment may be altered, but the total must remain the same. If one assessment is reduced, then the other assessments must be increased to balance. This time it's my pleasure to introduce the members of the court and the staff that are present. Myself, Gary Atkinson, the chair, in the absence of Councillor Van Claveren, Councillor Bob Wolvett, DeMarinetti McEwen, Councillor Mike Vasey, and Councillor Kristen Rodriguez. Staff is our drainage coordinator, Ryan Tamming, our drainage clerk, Jessica Wilson, our director of public works, Mr. Paul Garrett, and the engineer on this project is Mr. Mike Garrett from M. Garrett's Consulting Incorporated. At this time, I'd ask the clerk if we've received any written appeals to the schedule of assessment as presented.
We received one appeal from Mary Beth and Paul Haywood, Plan 28, Lot 36.
All right. Well, I understand Mary Beth and Paul, you're with us this evening. Thank you for coming. Just hold on. You're going to be on secondly, so just hang on a minute. At this time, I'm going to allow Mr. Garrett to do his presentation, please.
Okay, through the chair and to the court. This project was assessed out with the section 31 allowances for the two outlets to the lake with 100% as an outlet assessment. And then the cost to maintain the laterals was assessed as 50% of the cost of the benefiting landowner and 50% of the cost of the road authority. So any of the laterals that were plugged in the report were identified as being plugged. We're going to do trenchless technologies, open it up, and then they pay half the cost of that. I can talk about the appeals now, or I think maybe the Haywoods can present and I'll respond to it, or is that how you'd like me to do it?
Yes, I would. Okay. So, Mary Beth, are you speaking or is Paul going to be speaking?
I speak at weddings, I speak. Do you want me to just read what I, or?
You can
Yeah, I
read
will.
the whole thing or summarize whatever you'd like.
Oh, I'll just read it. Our address is 4136 Blue Point Drive. And this letter is to confirm that we wish to appeal the assessment of our property. Plan 28, Lot 36, owner ID is 46. We believe that our assessment is higher than it should be. The contributing factors to our request are as follows. One, after consultation with Mike, he has determined that there is a capped drain pipe in the vicinity of a telephone pole in front of our home. This is on municipal property and we have nothing connected to it. We have no lateral drain on our property. Our home is on a cement slab. We have no basement. Therefore, we have no sump pump drainage that would go into the storm sewer. We would definitely never dig up our front lawn to install a drain for the purpose of hooking up a downspout. Our home is fronting Lake Huron. Due to the topography of the land, any water does not run uphill towards the road. It runs through our yard, over the edge of the bluff, and down the hill into the lake. Thank you for your time.
All right. Mr. Garrett, you have an opportunity for a rebuttal.
Yeah, so through the chair and to the court. So I did look at, like, as the Haywood said, I looked at twice. I looked at the CCTV video inspection. And there's a lateral in front of their property that would go, I assume, close to the property line or maybe just past. We don't know. That's not the problem here. The laterals were put in at the time. Some landowners opted not to have a lateral. That landowner at the time, maybe it wasn't you, it could have been you, but that landowner at the time opted to have a lateral put to their property. Assume the lateral put to their property.
And then that lateral, so the assessment on a lateral like that is because you have the potential, whether the current landowner uses it or whether a future landowner uses it, there's a lateral there for someone, because you may sell your house in a couple of years. And then the next guy will say, well, I want to tie my downspouts in because I don't want them going over the banks because they're causing erosion at the banks. And then there's also, you can't forget, there's also the lateral as a benefit, but there's also surface water benefits. So your lot, the front of your yard, I looked at the swoop image and I looked at some images. So it's not much. I realize this is a small amount, but if you look at your area that's assessed in the drain, it reflects that it's just the front yard of your house that drains to the road. And then that gets into the storm sewer and that gets out. I think most people on the drain have a little bit of water, especially along the lake. If you look at the watershed plan, you can see it just takes a sliver of land along the whole drain, but there is that benefit. Like, you won't get out of a benefit altogether on that property ever, because there is a bit of water that's going to go into the drain. And then furthermore, we always assess for the ability to connect to it if there's a lateral there. I realize you're not using it. I get you have a slab on grade, and I get that you live near the lake that you can.
I doubt if they'll ever connect to it because the water lines and everything are right in line with that telephone pole.
Yeah, it's not quite at the telephone
Everything's
pole.
right there. You're
Kind of
not
like
gonna pay a lot of money to tear it up to put a drain in for what?
It's in the vicinity of the,
Ridiculous.
yeah, just so it's in the vicinity of the hydro pole. I kind of use the hydro pole as like just so you know roughly where it is. Like, when it came time to ever connect to that, you'd go back to the CCTV and you measure it off from the manhole, the number of meters it is down, and then you know where it is, and then you can dig it up. But it's close to it, I believe.
So Mike, you're thinking that someone would wanna take a down pipe off a roof and run water, because you know you're never gonna dig up the ground. But as I said, the topography of the land, the water is running
Yeah.
this way. The water's not gonna run uphill.
Well, the front yard, a bit of the front yard will go towards the road. Yeah.
My
You can see
neighbor
it.
tried that. He put a big bow on his front drain.
Yeah.
He tried and it road. It didn't work. I
No.
told him it won't run downhill.
I realize it's what, I have looked at the swoop imagery on that lot, so there is like an ortho, it's not 100% obviously, because we use like 0.3 contours. But it does also indicate, in addition to just looking at it, that there is, and I'm not saying it's a lot. No one has a lot on that street. It's been a bit contentious that we brought the people in at the last meetings when people were here. But that's just, there is a drain out front that I realize you're not connected into it, but there is a connection there for someone in the future. And when someone wants to connect into it, it's quite valuable to have that. I mean, you don't know, you can't like, you can estimate that your house will be there, but you don't know what happens if someone was to purchase that lot and build a house. They may want to connect into it. Water lines and telephone lines and gas lines don't mean anything. They go around them.
That's a non-buildable lot. There cannot be any building on that lot. We were told that when we bought in 1996. So.
Yeah, I guess one of the easiest ways to explain it is when you do it on an agricultural land, which is different, but it's still the same concept. I have a lot of farmers that say I'm not tiling. And then if you were not to assess them for their tile, next year they're going to tie in. They do tie in. And then the argument is now you have to pay for a subsequent connection. If it's there, there's a chance people will use it. So we always assess for the ability to connect. That's the benefit in this assessment, plus a bit of surface water. But the bulk of like, you're not going to get out of your whole assessment for benefit. And so like, this is just a part of it. But I have to assess on what's there. It's up to the Court of Revision if they were to change the assessment. That they can do that. That's up to them. But I would normally assess. This is the way we normally assess every lateral that we run into.
Thank you, Mr. Garretts. At this time, I'm going to ask the court to deliberate, and our clerk will join with us as well. So, court, if you could join with me in the mayor's office at this time, that would be great.
To clarify a point, we can't connect downspouts into storm sewers that causes flooding, but you can put a catch basin that makes the surface of water.
Yeah.
Stuff that we know.
Yeah, so your assessment's $425 right now, right? It would, the other lots that don't have it have $140.
It's a big difference, isn't it?
The other lots don't have the lateral though. Like
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for your patience while we deliberated for discussion on the court. I have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Vaizey. The decision of the Court of Revision, Plan 28, 486 drain on this day of the 30th of July, 2025. The appeal assessment amount being of behalf of the Haywards. The appeal amount assessment is being too high due to the following reasons: not connected to the outlet pipe in the front yard, no lateral on property, no sump pump discharge, drainage, no plans to install a drain in the yard, and then they front onto Lake Huron. After much discussion and review, the court has decided that the appeal is dismissed. All those in favor? Carried. Now, there is an appeal period under section 54(1) of the Drainage Act. If dissatisfied with the decision of the Court of Revision, the appellants may appeal the decision to the Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs Appeal Tribunal by filing a written notice of appeal to the drainage clerk in the town of Plympton-Wyoming within 21 days of the pronouncement. Court, I have a motion by Councillor Vaizey, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez, that the Court of Revision for Plan 28 and 486 drain be adjourned. All those in favor?
No.
Carried. And I will share with you, if you would like to speak to our staff about spreading out your payments instead of all at one lump sum, then we will need to work with you on it. Talk to Norma or Christine.
Sorry, can we just make one point of clarification on the laterals? These laterals were unique to Blue Point. That you can tie your downspouts in and things like that.
Yeah, tie the downspouts, right? I mean, I never received anything before it. You have to go to a structure and then a break in the system. The catch basin, then it would go into the.
May I ask when we passed that?
About a couple months ago under the stormwater bylaw.
Paul even clarified at that meeting.
Yeah, downspouts can't be tied directly into a stormwater.
I agree. Was that years ago that we did?
The initial one was years ago, but we reviewed it under the inflow and infiltration program.
That was a sanitary bylaw.
I'd have to review, but storm sewers, you're not allowed to town downspouts into storm sewers. It's been part of the bylaw since 2018.
Okay, well, what discussion?
Okay. Our next one is the consideration report on the park drain, section 76. Call that meeting to order. Also, I would remind you that
It's our coat.
Mike.
Thanks.
your coat. Also remind you if there's pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest, please declare it at the appropriate time of the business of this meeting. Purpose of this consideration meeting is to discuss the technical aspects of the drainage report dated July the 9th, 2025 for the park drain section 76. There are assessment concerns. These will be addressed at the Court of Revision. This time, I'd like to introduce members of the court, council present. It would be, the consideration meeting. That would be myself as Mayor Gary Atkins filling in for Councillor Rodriguez, Van Claveren, who normally chairs this. Got a promotion there.
Thought we were getting ready. Yeah.
Councillor Bob Olvette, Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councillor Christian Rodriguez, and Councillor Mike Vaizey. Our staff is our drainage coordinator, Ryan Tamming, our drainage clerk, Jessica Wilson, Director of Public Works, Mr. Paul Da Silva, and our engineer on this project is Mr. Josh Warner on behalf of R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated. Mr. Warner, at this time, I'm going to call on you to provide your report, please.
Through the chair, I'll give a brief overview of the report and then make myself available for any questions or comments. So the park drain report has been prepared under section 76 of the Drainage Act. The section 76 appointment allows for the updating of assessments for maintenance on the drainage work. The site meeting was held on April 8th, 2025, where the current appointment was discussed. It was outlined that the appointment would only allow for updating the assessments for maintenance. Landowners were given a window to put a request forward under Section 78 of the Drainage Act, should any other improvements be required. No such requests were received. The report provides an updated maintenance schedule for the open channel portion of the drainage works, for the closed portion of the drainage works, and the replacement of culverts along the length of the drainage works. Culverts that were not completed under previous reports cannot be replaced under the procedures of the Drainage Act without a future report under Section 78. The report also outlines which reports are applicable to each section of the drain in terms of the specifications and drawings. The total estimated cost for the report is $9,451. At this time, I'm available for any comments or questions from landowners or.
Before we go to that, I have to ask the clerk, has there been any written correspondence regarding this drainage report that's been coming to us? Okay, thank you. Yes, as Mr. Warner said, if there are any landowners in attendance to ask any questions on this report? Hearing none, council, any questions? Councilor Rodriguez?
Thank you. I just have one on the condition, the number of culverts and conditions. Some of them are listed as unknown. Is that because I don't know why that would be?
Yeah, through the chair. So the Section 76 report only allows for updating the assessments should they be replaced. So based on the previous reports, we outlined what the size was from those reports. We didn't actually investigate the culverts or the condition. So if there's a culvert that we could spot from the GIS that wasn't in one of those reports, we don't know what the length or the size of that culvert is. Okay, thank you.
Any further? Okay, I have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councilor Wolvette, that the report by Josh Warner, professional engineer of Ardobin Engineering Incorporated, dated July the 9th, 2025, regarding the Park Drain Section 76 report 2025 be adopted as presented, and that provisional bylaw 76 of 2025 be taken as having been read a first and a second time, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All those in favor? That is carried. Yeah, motion by Councilor Basie, seconded by Councilor Rodriguez, that the consideration meeting for Park Section 76, 2025 be adjourned. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, we'll go to the next consideration meeting for the Waterside Estates drain. But once again, I would remind council, if you have a conflict of interest, to declare the appropriate time. The purpose of the consideration meeting is to discuss the technical aspects of the drainage report dated July the 9th, 2025 for the Waterside Estates drain. If there are assessment concerns, these will be addressed at the Board of Revision. Once again, it's my pleasure to introduce council and staff, myself, Gary Atkinson as mayor, Councilor Bob Wolvette, Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councilor Christian Rodriguez, Councilor Mike Basie. Our staff is Mr. Ryan Tamming, the drainage coordinator, the drainage clerk, Jessica Wilson, and our director of public works, Mr. Paul De Silva. Once again, Mr. Josh Warner, on behalf of Ardobin Engineering, is our engineer on this project. Mr. Warner, at this time, I'd ask you to please give us an update status on your report, please.
Thank you. The Waterside Estates drain has been prepared under Section 4 of the Drainage Act. Per the subdivision agreement for this development, the report proposes the incorporation of the existing storm infrastructure completed as part of phase one of the Waterside Estates development. This includes the storm sewers, the overflow swale, and an OGI, storm services, manholes, catch basins, and catch basin leads. The report will allow for any future maintenance or work infrastructure to be assessed to the roads who utilize the drainage works. The total estimated cost for this report is $8,241. Again, at this time, I'm available for any comments or questions.
Yeah, Ms. Wilson, has anybody received any written correspondence?
No.
Are there any landowners or in attendance that would like to address their questions or comments? Seeing none. Have a motion to be signed, if you could send that way, please. Eddie, can you come?
You may have a question.
One sec, if you don't mind. I'm on the right one. I think in the report I read that the road's getting charged 70%. That for assessment. Yeah, so Shoreside Drive, we're getting assessed $4,000, not even one of our streets, is it? As of yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair.
On a road that is not ours.
Yeah, through the chair. So basically, the report establishes how the engineering is to get assessed, but then the subdivision agreement essentially supersedes that billing, and is all the work as part of this report is paid for by the developer.
Okay.
It's the developer's street still.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't take it on for 2 years.
Yeah, which will.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, we have a motion by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Vacy, that the report by Josh Warner, professional engineer of R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated, dated July the 9th, 25, regarding the Waterside Estates drain be adopted, presented in additional bylaw 77, 2025 be taken as having been read a first and second time, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All those in favor? Carried. I have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councilor Wabeth, the consideration meeting for the Waterside Estates drain be adjourned. Those in favor? That was carried. All right, council, we'd like to take a 5-minute personal break, and then we'll resume back to our normal activities then. Number 5, business arising from previous meetings. I have nothing listed. Clerk, nothing has been added.
Thank you, worship.
Declare that closed. Go to item 6.1, council meeting minutes. I have a motion by Councillor Vacy, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez. That the minutes be adopted by council and those confidential minutes of the closed sessions. Council remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. That would be Fieldview Estates consideration meeting minutes of July 9th, 2025. Regular council meeting minutes of July 9th, 2025, and our closed council meeting minutes of July 9th, 2025.
Skipped ahead.
Okay. Not be lying. Council, you've had an opportunity to read all of them. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It is carried. Let's go to item 6.2, committee meeting minutes. Motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen and seconded by Councillor Wolvette that the minutes be adopted by council and those confidential minutes. The closed sessions remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. It would be our special events committee meeting minutes of June the 2nd, 2025. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, let's go to 6.3, council reports. Deputy?
Okay.
And I've had a good stretch off.
Yeah, good. Mr. Vacy, nothing?
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez, nothing?
Yes, thank you. Trails. I had a trails meeting, and Plympton-Wyoming was quite the topic in that meeting. We had the new representatives because they changed their board every 2 years. There was a lot of discussion around the topic of 2 disconnected trails in Plympton-Wyoming.
No, you mean one of those is the one that goes nowhere?
Right, yeah, the one that I let everybody know it's called the Trail to Nowhere.
The other one comes from nowhere.
And how there is obviously a growing discontent with no solutions being had. It's been spinning the circles for years and we have an increased population. Not only that, we have the connection between our neighboring municipalities who are also increasingly wanting to use our area, longer distances. We also have the big events like the Grand Fondo, which is the 2nd largest in Canada, which utilizes our roads as well. They were showing a nice pictorial of broken trails too, and in one shot, which just goes to show the level of frustration in the community, on the side of Lakeshore Road, in the narrow pathway area, somebody spray painted trails with an arrow this way. So it's gotten to the point where the community is now deciding where those trails will be. So, yeah.
Your worship?
Yes.
If I may, we just recently met as senior management to discuss a grant opportunity for that. So we do plan on trying one more time. And if unsuccessful, we also discuss the potential for just budgeting for it and getting it done. So we could put it in the budget if council wants us to go forward with it. We could look at getting that done. We're also ramping up our conversations with the county to acquire the lands to do so. So it is on the radar.
This is good. There's movement. And that was going to be my next statement on it, because we did talk about the grant offered by Aging in the Ministry of Seniors from Minister Chu. That grant, that grant availability does include trail systems. When we went on our conservation school bus trip, one of those stops was at in central Middlesex there, where 2 years in a row, they had received substantial grant money for their trail systems from that grant. The grant, although I think the day before the meeting had changed to a new name, I think short form ease or something, but that new grant still does include trails. Money for trail. Yeah, good. So.
Mr. Silva?
Yeah, through your worship, that's exactly the grant that we're looking at. It is only $60,000, but that could go a long way on completing that trail. So yes, you'll see a report here at the next meeting recommending that project.
May I make a suggestion to save you some time, because I know you're busy, since this topic has been brought up? And if there's council support of it, we were intending to bring a report back recommending exactly what we discussed here tonight. The problem is that the next council meeting where that would come forward would be shortly before the grant deadline. So if council feels strongly that is a good choice for that grant, a motion tonight would be greatly beneficial getting us moving forward on that.
I will happily make a motion, and I do know the deadline is August 15th, so you're correct. It is really
Very short.
the timeline.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that we apply for the grant.
Can I just get some wording down, your worship?
You sure can.
Because the grant will want correct wording, so I want to make sure I get the right wording in there. So give me 1 second.
Do you have that wording, or would you like it, Aaron?
It would be great if you could give it to me while I'm writing, so that staff be directed to apply for the
Enhancing access to spaces for everyone grant.
Out nowhere.
enhancing access
To spaces for everyone.
to spaces.
For everyone.
Grant. Want to add definition of to apply to the grant for,
Yeah, for what purpose?
To extend the, I don't think it's called the Howard Watson at that point, is it? Extend the Howard Watson Trail into
To existing.
The county still
to
refers.
be specific, or would you like to be more general?
the extension of the trail on Lakeshore Road.
That's between Mondawmin and Egremont.
What's the name of that trail?
It does not have a name in Plympton-Wyoming.
Oh, Muriel
The
did.
county.
Yeah, Muriel wanted to call it Captain's
Yeah,
Clyde or
Captain.
Clyde or something.
Eddie's Way? Oh.
Plympton-Wyoming, it has no formal name. In Sarnia, it's the Howard Watson Trail.
So trail along Lakeshore Road would be
That
sufficient?
would be adequate.
Yeah, and just, the county, when they are present at the meetings, does refer to it as the Howard Watson as well.
Is that enough in your motion for the grant? Yep. sorry.
Moved by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that staff be directed to apply for the Enhancing Access to Spaces for Everyone grant to extend the trail along Lakeshore Road. All those in favor? Carried. Anything else from you, Councilor Rodriguez, on your report? That's it?
On this time, I have an executive meeting with St. Clair tomorrow. Next one.
Good for you. Just a couple things. I attended a meeting with some of our local groups within the municipality about our future pool replacement. Seemed to go quite well. We will be reporting on that more in the future as we start to get the groups together and working towards a plan. I was at the official presentation to the check for the Plympton-Wyoming Historical Society. I guess it made the Independent today, and they are very much appreciative of that. And I think one of the first things they indicated they'd like to do is get some new computers so they're all compatible with what we have here as well as what the county has. So they're going to be working with the county as a resource moving forward. I had the opportunity to attend the biannual meeting with Sarnia-Lambton Economic Partnership yesterday, I believe it was, and I have a laws meeting tomorrow, and I believe first part of August will be at the official ribbon cutting ceremony at the new building where Julie Whiteley has her financial business in there. Looking forward to that. And that's all I have at this time, Deputy.
Good. I will I did forget that, Wyoming Historical Society, if they want to put on displays, it's a military display at the, at the Petrolia Discovery Site.
Okay.
And, so they've gone down and looked, where they could put their, displays. And they're going to give them a schoolhouse down there to put in, so just in case of weather, I guess, and everything else. So, but it'll give them a lot of people to see what's going on, and it's strictly military, so and they're all excited about it, so.
I think that might be the schoolhouse that came from Marthaville.
That, yeah, it probably is, yeah. So, but that's not till I think October the 4th, so I'll probably tell you about it again.
I guess.
But that'd be a good reminder for us, and hopefully we can attend and support. All right. Okay, thank you, everybody. So we'll go to council. Let's go to item 7.1, counts. Moved by Councilor Vacy, seconded by Councilor Rodriguez, that the council remuneration claims for June of 2025 be approved for payment. All those in favor? Carried. Next, we have 8.1, are moved by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Vacy, that the report by Aaron Warchuk, clerk, dated July 22nd, 2025, regarding the Memorial Banner Program update be received. Council, you've had a chance to read report. It seems to be very positive throughout our community. I've heard nothing but positive and good things about it. And we're looking forward to seeing the end result come out. I believe in October, we're going to be putting them up. Is there any questions for the clerk before I pass them for a motion? Pass. Hearing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Clerk, thank you and your team for doing that and for going out and meeting with the people within our community. That's some great support. So well done for them.
They'll staff that one.
Okay, 8.2, moved by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Vacy, that the report by Norma Roddick Priest, Treasurer, dated July 16th, 2025, regarding the May 2025 budget update be received and filed. Council, you've had a chance to review that. Is there any questions, Ms. Roddick Priest? Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you. So on page 3. Under expenses, general government, legal fees. It shows that we were already at 89,000. You talked about it in your report. Are you able to say where that's at today? Legals? Yeah, not like today. Yes, thank you. Apologies, I didn't realize it was
105,000.
Thank you. Next question is a couple lines down, election expense and candidate fee refund. Do we have expenses normally in that in a non-election year? Oh, sorry, I don't know why I'm not. You're the election person,
Yeah,
that's why I'm asking.
I don't know what's going on this year for that.
For election, we budget for that for over the.
Yeah, we budget each year.
Each year for it.
Oh, I thought you said it was an expense.
There is.
There's expense.
Of 2035. Does that have to do with like the report you talked to us about, maybe? Well, getting rid of telephones? No, getting rid of.
That is just my personal report. There's no expense billed for that.
Okay.
So. Okay.
I think you build expenses every year to build up the money towards.
Yes, we budget that, yes.
Through the mayor, it's the data fix annual vote for the agreement, so it's Thank you. So data fix is when we get the voter data, which we used to get from MPAC, now we're getting from the province, it converts it into a program that we are able to use with our voting system. So we pay them a fee every year.
Okay.
Great.
Sorry
Forgot about that. It's me.
And the old Plympton Township Hall has this 1821, is that kind of had to do with the closings and stuff?
Closings and hydro and gas until the new owners took over.
Okay, perfect. And I think there was just one or two. On page 6, the under your garbage. The Wyoming compost, yes, Wyoming compost, it says budget is 28. But the actual as of May 31st is 51.
Presume that budget line hasn't been updated since up to a couple of years ago. We only had Wyoming compost.
Okay, so those 2 line items are really, so that's the total of those 2 line items that's been expended.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. This just threw me off there. And I think the last one I had, picture was, yeah, I'll get there, sorry. Page 7. The Highland Glen Beach, it showed AOD nothing, but that was part of, and then expensed at 7,700. Under capital.
Yes,
that was part of the grant.
The AODA grant that we got for
that's right.
Highland, but yep.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Perfect. That would be it. Thank you.
Councillor Vaizey, anything from you?
Nothing, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you, Brother Grease, for putting that together for us. Go to 8.3. I have a motion by Councillor Wolvette, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez, that the report prepared by Christine Houston, Deputy Treasurer / Tax Collector, dated July 25th, 2025, regarding the procurement policy update be received, and the council approves the updated procurement policy bylaws 79 of 2025 be taken as having been read 3 times, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Council, you had a chance to review that and the update that's been presented by Ms. Houston. She's here if there's any questions. Deputy?
Can you tell us what the changes are?
Sure. The major changes are that we've included a preference for Canadian and local businesses. It includes group and cooperative purchasing agreements. That was not in the previous procurement policy. It encourages environmentally and socially responsible purchasing, and it includes the AODA standards. It includes a dispute resolution process and some examples of how to handle bid irregularities. And it updates the procurement thresholds and procedures. So
What are those updates?
So those updates, they've increased the thresholds. So that
Change from the other last procurement one was there was an increase to the treasurer's authority from 25 to 50. That's the only major section there. RFQs and tenders to council. Everything under 50,000.
Yeah, so the 2011 policy, that's when it was last updated.
Yes, thank you.
The council had to approve anything over 25,000, and so that's been increased to 50,000. Staff did a comparison. Pardon me?
Spend a lot over 50 grand.
I know.
So staff did a comparison with other municipalities that were similar size and in the close to the area, and spoke with other municipalities that had older procurement policies that are planning on updating them soon. And those are the thresholds that the other municipalities are using or plan to.
Nothing further? I'll call for Councillor Wolvette. Okay.
And
Wolvette, you're up.
Yeah, I don't particularly agree with increase in this $25,000. I think I think we need oversight on any spending, and I think $25,000, anything over that should be brought here to council under staff report. I see more and more of council's staff taking on this kind of responsibility and less control of councils and oversight. So I don't, and I'm just talking the municipal level. You see it through all levels of government these days and spending. And I'm not saying for 1 second here that we aren't responsible spenders, but I think council needs to know before somebody's spending $50,000 on something, and that can be done multiple times, not just once, right? You can, if it's 50,000, you'd be able to prove it. Tomorrow, something else comes up, 50,000. Next day, 50,000. I think the council needs to have oversight on this, and I'd like to see that remain at $25,000.
So, my question would be to staff, what would you normally be spending that money on? What you kind of answered Councilor Willette's question?
Could be anything from vehicle purchases to anything that was approved in budget. That's still a notable amount. Most of those items would be approved in budget. But it would be large maintenance or capital projects or small capital projects that were contemplated in budget, medium to small equipment purchases that were contemplated in budget. They'd all have to be budgeted items. It would not be able to be something that was not budgeted for.
Councilor Willett, anything else for you?
No, and
You have the floor.
I just think that oversight, especially when we're dealing with money, is extremely important to a council. We need to understand what it's being spent on. $25,000 is a pretty significant figure. And you always report it to us, I get it. But we approve budgets. Then after that, we really don't ask any questions. I mean, once your budget is approved, you can spend that money. Like you have the authority to spend it in each department. So this here, to me, is quite a bit different. I think we need to have these odd things reported to the council. It's not a big deal. If you're going to buy a truck, you haven't put it in your budget. You want to spend $50,000 on another truck. You're shaking your head. No, you can't.
If it's not in budget, it can't be approved.
Even if it's 49,000?
Correct.
Yeah, if it's not in budget, it can't be approved.
Well, I think.
Well, that's not the way I'm reading this.
There's a floor.
Sorry, then I've got it wrong, because the way I'm reading this is that something comes up and you want to buy a piece of equipment, you can go ahead and buy it.
No, it has to be within budget, has to be approved budget.
Miss Houston and then the deputy, or sorry, then the clerk, then back to Councilor Rodriguez. Or do you have something different altogether? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But I did want to.
Okay.
I want to address this.
Yeah.
So there is part of this policy, it says prescribe council approval. Notwithstanding any other provision of this policy, the following awards require council approval. The first bullet is the recommended award exceeds the amount budgeted for the purchase. So if something was not budgeted, so that would be 0. So then that purchase would need to be approved by council before it was allowed.
Then I take back what I said, because the way I was reading this was during the year, something comes up, you want to buy another piece of equipment like a lawnmower, you can go ahead and do it. You can approve this without the approval of council. Then I've got it. I'm reading it wrong. Sorry.
They don't want one that cheap anyway, don't worry.
It only applied, we cannot, if it's not budgeted by council, not approved by council at budget, we cannot purchase it.
Not an issue with
council approval.
Thank you.
Councilor, okay, Councilor Basie.
I was just gonna say, like, we budgeted for a new lawnmower, it's $36,000. They can buy it.
Yeah.
It's in the budget.
Yeah.
That's exactly what instead of 25, it's up to 50, is that correct?
Yeah.
Right. They're still gonna go for tender, still gonna do all that stuff. It just.
Okay, that's fine. I was reading it differently, that this was an extra, these are extras that you can approve without council knowing about.
That's fine. I'm glad you brought that up, Councilor.
Fair enough.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you. So, while I appreciate all that and understood that, we're dealing with a budget once a year, we're approving things once a year. throughout the year, those expenditures are happening, and it's the tender process that you're coming to council for approval for between that 25 and 50,000 proposed number. And I still think that process is very important. Because it's for transparency for sure, and you'd have to rely on everybody in the municipality may not be aware of something that happened once in a year. As these things happen throughout the year, there might be something of particular interest to them. So I think that process should remain, and it is important to remain as we go along. I can cite one example or one item, for example, that we approved at budget time. Then tenders or different prices or quotes were brought to us. And council had to change their heart on the whole thing and decided not to go forward with it because it got brought back up. And something had changed in the dynamics throughout the year. So, and that has happened here on council already. Between 25 and 50,000, I mean, when we're looking at, is it 98,000 is 1% of our tax budget? That still represents a significant amount to this municipality and to the tax base. So I don't see it as being a big deal or taking up a tremendous amount of time in council throughout the year for these items. Between 25 and 50, so I don't see it being a big deal to keep it going the way it is, just for that ongoing knowledge to the public.
Heard anything further? Call for all those in favor.
Sorry.
You have something more?
Yes.
Okay.
So because, I mean, is it a possibility, or how do you do it? Do you have to put a motion to ask for an amendment? Because I agree with everything else about the whole thing, just not increasing that amount. You have to do.
Clerk, would a straw vote be appropriate in this situation to see if an amendment is warranted to return the approval authority values to the 2011 bylaw?
The mover and seconder would have to be comfortable with the amendment.
So that's Councilor Wilbett and Councilor Rodriguez.
So it would just be a straw vote at first, though, to determine whether or not amendment is needed. The treasurer has her hand up, sir.
Ms. Houston, sorry.
Through the mayor. So one reason why those thresholds were increased was because in 2011, $25,000. So now that inflated, that equals about $40,000 now. So it's the same type of project would be approved by the treasurer. So it's not, even though the amounts increase, it would be the same types of projects that would be approved. An alternative that I did see in some other municipalities was that, so part of this threshold increase, it helps staff and get the work done faster because we don't have to wait for the report to come back to council, get it approved, and then make that purchase and carry on with that work between that $25,000 and $50,000 value. So some other municipalities, they would say it can be approved by the treasurer, but they do want an information report to come back later. So council will still be made aware of it later, but the work could be carried forward right away.
I can add to that. It's actually been our common practice with a lot of purchases that are in the treasurer's approval authority to provide a copy of that purchasing report to committee or council when those purchases are made.
Just to add, I know sometimes, especially with water, it has to go to the water sewer committee first, and then it has to go to council. So if you're waiting to make that purchase or complete that work, it can hold it up for 6 weeks sometimes. So we're trying to mitigate that and make things more effective.
And if I may, that really wasn't my reasoning, although I appreciate those comments. None of those things were my reasoning. So my reasoning is about throughout the year, allowing those things to come forward, like items, and quite frankly, there aren't a lot of them, in my opinion. And secondly, because it gives the council the opportunity to be able to shift as circumstances may change, and to take away that ability to me is not productive for the taxpayer. that is our purpose sitting on council. Thank you.
So where we're at right now is Adam had suggested a straw vote whether we
And the
and that
procurement threshold.
threshold. Is there a feeling to do that or not?
I don't know, are we taking a straw vote?
Yeah, we are. Oh, you are.
Right, so if I'm the only one, I'm not voting for this.
Well, I'm still a little confused in this thing, sorry, but if it's in the budget, it's in the budget. You can go ahead and approve it anyways. You don't, regardless of the price, if we've already budgeted for it.
Not if it's
No.
over 25,000 or
No, but like when they were buying the tractor, it did come back to us about, because there was some issues with that, right?
that tractor would have to come back to you no matter what. As it stands today, any purchase over $25,000.
Yeah.
Budgeted or otherwise, has to come back to council. This would allow staff to make those purchases under $50,000 that have been budgeted, that are within budget, straight away, following the procedures laid out in the policy. So.
I don't know. I'm gonna say, I still think oversight is needed up and above 25,000, so I'm gonna straw vote that keep it the same.
Well, my opinion,
Yes, go ahead.
I was thinking along the same line as Christine, like in 2011. You'd probably buy a truck for 25 grand. Now you can't buy a truck for 75, 100. So
You will not buy a truck for 25 years.
it's, the dollar ain't what it was 15 years ago. So to me, it makes sense to up it, but it's all right with me. It doesn't affect my life one way or the other. What's yours?
You did.
You want my opinion?
Sure.
I'd love your opinion.
I think the only reason I would not want to change is because I like to know what the heck's things are being spent on. That's all. But I do agree that it's much easier for them to continue on their work. To just, when we approved something in the budget, you can go ahead and do it. But when do we hear about it then afterwards?
Information.
Purchasing reports.
Internally, we can ensure that purchasing reports are put on under recommended reading, so council is aware of those purchases. But
Right now, that's not being done.
we haven't had a lot of purchasing reports in the last few months.
Okay, then I gotta think about this. Why don't you give your opinion too, Mr.
I support the upgrade because I think it's necessary to keep current and to also not impede the progress of our staff. We want them to work as efficiently as we can. So I will support it.
We can crab about it later, what you've spent, okay?
Is that your
Oh, that was-
straw vote, madam?
Yes, it is. Yeah, well,
To summarize, Councilor Wolvet and Councilor Rodriguez would prefer to remain at the current approval levels, and it appears that the mayor, deputy mayor, and councilor Mr. Basie are supportive of increasing the values. Is that a correct summarization? So
That's it is.
So the motion would be presented as is.
All right, we got the motion on the floor. Let's get it done. Councilor Wolvet, Councilor Rodriguez made the motion that the report prepared by Christine Houston, Deputy Treasurer and Tax Collector, dated July 25th, 2025, regarding the procurement policy update be received and council approves the updated procurement policy that bylaws 79 of 2025 be taken as having been read 3 times, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All those in favor?
Sir.
You need to vote.
I'm in favor. Is carried. Okay, item 9.1 under bylaws, a motion by Councilor Vacy, seconded by Councilor Rodriguez, that collection bylaw 78 of 2025 for maintenance, repair, and improvement of drainage works initiated in the township of Warwick be approved. Taking as having been read 3 times, and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly, and the cost of work completed be assessed to property owners based on the attached assessment schedules and collected in the manner outlined within the bylaw. Any questions on this one? Councilor Willett, you have a question? Oh, okay. All those in favor? Item 9.2, updates to the town cemetery bylaw, moved by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councilor Willett. That bylaw 63 of 2025 being a bylaw to provide for the management and control of the Wyoming Public Cemetery and all inactive cemeteries in the town of Plympton, Wyoming, be taken as having been read 3 times, and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Received some correspondence on that just recently as well. Maybe I was thinking of something else. Clerk?
Are you thinking of the email that I sent saying that we had updated the agenda about that?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so Diane can speak to what the changes were in the bylaw. The cemetery committee's already approved this. What I sent your worship was just that there was an error on the bylaw that was on the agenda, which we couldn't fix until BAO fixed it. We don't have access to the bylaw once they approve it.
Okay.
So that was just a minor numbering issue. Didn't affect the content, but Diane can give a highlight of what the content changes were, or Councillor Wolvet.
Sure.
Yep, through the mayor to council, there's some housekeeping changes, for example, the ministry changed, it's now under Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery. Section 3.15, transfer of interment rights. The BAO, the Bereavement Authority of Ontario, has expanded that, and they've added some additional stipulations around the documentation required to transfer all the interment rights for from one, like a family to a third party.
Okay.
So there's more stipulations. And also memorialization, section 5.6. There is the town reserves the right to remove, repair, or reset any monument or marker deemed a risk to public safety. So additionally, any monument or marker presents a risk to the public safety from being unstable. The cemetery operator, the town, shall do whatever it deems necessary by way of repairing, resetting, or laying down the monument or marker, or any other remedy to remove the risk. So.
Yeah, and we, this last item, 5.6, was extremely important, as we're doing our cemetery tours, mainly inactive, because in Wyoming Public Cemetery, those monuments over there, we've spent a fair bit of money over the past few years straightening up on that. But in some of these inactive cemeteries, like for instance, Arrow, there's some huge monuments over in there, and they're in the bush. A lot of them are in the bush, and they're leaning very badly. And I mean, them things would weigh hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So under the Cemetery Act, what can we do with them? So we had to ask the question. So now we've got the answer. If they're a safety issue, those big monuments, there's nobody left to fix them but the taxpayer. We can now, if we feel they're a safety risk, we can lay them down on the ground. And so this is quite important for us for the inactive cemeteries, because we'd have to spend tens or maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars straightening up monuments, putting bases under them, if we couldn't do this. So this is the answer to it. So which is a big deal for us, because we got a lot of inactive cemeteries. So that's what this is about.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, thank you for that update, because I knew there was something going on there, and we do appreciate it. And thank you, Deputy Clerk and Councilor Willett, for doing that. Okay, Council, call for the vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Okay, item 9.3, moved by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Vasey, that bylaw 80 of 2025 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between local Wyoming, Ontario Corporation, will be Liam Austin, and the town of Plympton, Wyoming, be approved and taken as having been read 3 times. The mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. think this is, we've okayed this before with the people, have we not? Correct?
I can speak to that, your worship. It's just updating the agreement with the new owner of local.
Okay.
So it will be a 3-year agreement as we agreed to with the previous owners, so revised.
Okay, everybody's clear on that?
As we're
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, item 10.1, correspondence action required. I have nothing listed. Clerk, nothing's been added.
Nothing.
Thank you. Correspondence, recommended reading. I have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councilor Wolvette, that correspondence items A to H related to recommended reading and routine approval and information items be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. To my left, anything to be pulled or discussed? Anything for you?
No, thanks.
Am I right? Councilor Basie, then Councilor Rodriguez.
Just draw your attention to local Lions Club raised over 40,000 for hospice. Excuse me, at our golf tournament this year, so very well attended and very well supported, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes, I think they all were a good read. The Huron Shores Area Transit offering discounts. They have slightly increased their fares, but they've also offered some new discounts to make it easier for the public and for affordability. And the items G and H in particular, I would like to they're both is one a resolution or both?
One is a resolution.
G is a resolution.
H is just a follow-up letter that was sent. We already supported the original.
And that's why they're
And
doing
they're,
the follow-up.
I don't know that, they've heard anything back.
Well, this is what the letter is
Yeah.
about, is that they're frustrated because they're being, of course, like everybody else. The province is tone deaf when it comes to municipal needs. And they've come up with an idea to try and help redirect some money where it needs to be put to deal with growth and infrastructure needs, and yet we keep getting other things clawed back. Goes to the whole idea of municipalities, how they work. Item G is a resolution in opposition of Bill C2, which is making any donations over 10,000 have to go, so you're not allowed to do it because the government has concerns with money laundering, but it does impede the ability of legitimate charitable operations to be able to collect donations exceeding $10,000. So it's stunning. And I definitely would like to have that both for consideration for support.
Okay. Mr. Sabansky, can you add something to it about the Huron Shore Transit?
Yes, well, the clerk is drawing up those motions for Councilor Rodriguez. I wanted to share with council that I was speaking to the manager at the transit system, and we have very high uptake in our area. We had over 50 riders since its installation, which is quite a bit. And she was actually quite impressed with the uptake in our community. So they do collect stats on the matter. And as soon as we have stats available, we'll be sharing. Share that the community appeared to be using it and using it very well.
That's great.
So we have a mover for both of those. You will want the second. Yeah.
So the two that Councillor Rodriguez would like need seconders for them. We have a mover, but I need seconders for them. And that would be G.
G is from the Township of Otonabee, South Monahan. And then H for municipality of Tweed.
So those are seconders for those motions. Councillor Beasley?
Can I just ask a question on that motion here on the council township autonomy on the money deposit stuff?
Go right ahead.
Like, we just donated $25,000 to Historical Society. Does this affect that kind of thing? No, this is something different because it's. I've been reading that you can't give more than $10,000 in a single transaction.
Yeah.
This is, that's inter.
You wouldn't be able to accept 10,000 in cash donated to the Lions Hall. Because like when you go to the bank, anything over 10 grand, you have to declare where it comes from and all that for money laundering.
It says you can't.
Somebody somewhere is using a charity to.
Because you can't accept
10 grand,
cash
get
payments
10 grand out, and now it's.
or deposits in single transaction. So cash, I get it.
If you won 10,000, so if you won 10,000 and hide the ace, you want to donate it to the Lions Club, you can't do that right away.
You're correct. Yeah, we take it in $9.99 installments over 10 years.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody doing that.
That's why I read it.
Okay. So,
Seconders for other.
okay, Councillor Basie said he would second.
I'll do them both.
Both?
Sure.
So I do this one first.
Yes.
So I have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Wolvette, that correspondence items A to H related to recommended reading, routine approval, and information items to be noted. It's received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. Save and accept items G and H. That's G and H. All those in favor? That's carried. And I have a motion by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Basie, that council supports correspondence item G from the Township of Otonabee, South Monahan, regarding Bill C2, Section 77.5 bracket 1. All those in favor? It's carried. And I have a motion by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Basie, that council support correspondence item H from the municipality of Tweed regarding pre-report proposals follow up. So all those in favor? Period.
Business yours.
You guys leaving?
Yeah, business.
Their lunch? Item number 12, motion by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Basie. Sorry, item 12, new business. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. To my left, any new business?
A couple of things. This one just for note that I certainly heard on the news about a break-in here very locally on Niagara Street. I haven't heard anybody talk about that at all, but it certainly was on the Sarnia radio station somewhere around Niagara and Broadway. So, you know, just because we're on the public YouTube and stuff here, let it be known that that kind of stuff is going on right here. Now, we have a security system here in Town Hall. So that's a good thing, but we need to be aware this kind of stuff does happen even in our little community. The other thing I'm going to bring up again, a couple of things, trees. Have we spent any money out of our budget yet? This money that was in there for trees. And like one specific place that I drive by almost every day is the trail out here. Could we just fill in some of them open spots with some trees this fall? It's great that we planted all them trees there, and you know that open field, it's a great windbreak to stop that snow from coming out onto the highway and even onto the trail. So it'd be nice to see it filled in and spend some of that money on trees. They're no good sitting in the bank account. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, just very, very short. We have spent a little bit of money this year. We've planted some trees in some parks. And that might be a good conversation to have with the parks.
Yeah.
Regarding some additional plantings there.
I'm sure you already know about it. We mentioned it before, but let's get that money spent up and get some trees planted. My wife and I recently were down in the Elmira area. And I kept saying to my wife, what are those things all over the sides of the roads? The different highways, 86 highway and all them down there. They had tubes about that high, but 3-inch tubes. And what the heck are them things? You know, they're all over the bloody place. It ended up, and we took a closer look, there was trees growing out of the top of them. So they plant them in these high tubes, but everywhere down in the Elmira area and all that St. Jacobs, they've got all these trees planted. So that's what brought my thoughts back up to trees. So other than that, I'll just cut it off there for tonight.
All right, thank you, Counselor. To my right. Mr. Rodriguez.
As great minds do think alike. Topic was trees. But different, in a different way.
Walk up now.
Well, close. What kind of maintenance gets done on our trees? Because I mean, I look at Blue Point Park, for example, that treed area. I mean, dear God, it's just an absolute disaster. When does tree maintenance done? And is there a budget? Is that part of parks? Is it part of public works? Where is it?
Mr. Silva.
Through your worship, we have a couple of different budgets that comes off of. Sometimes it goes to general maintenance of parks. If they're in parks, if they're on the road allowance, then it comes out of the vegetation control budget. A lot of times people bring those things to our attention. We do tour the parks every spring with the Parks Committee and we go over some of the touch-ups that we need to do, branch and clearing and stuff like that. So, you know, we have boots on the ground all the time. We do it by complaint and we do it by observation.
Yeah. I appreciate the spring, but in spring, nothing's all overgrown and a couple of summer storms haven't hit and knocking things over, things like that. So I don't know. Anyway, that's my comments.
Just along the lines of that, it was brought to my attention about the condition of Wilpster Park. I know we planted an awful lot of trees there, but there seems to be a lot of weeds growing up. It's kind of like a wild world there. Not the nicest thing to see when we have a lot of people just by there, especially at the ballparks, plus the conditioning of it. There was wasn't there something when they planted those trees, it was supposed to be a certain type of park? Like who maintains it? Is that our responsibility or the group that planted those trees? I don't know. I'm just asking. Councilor Vasey?
You.
As chair of the parks, yes.
When it was put in, it was a mini urban forest. So the idea is you plant the trees, you plant the shrubby stuff underneath, and as the shrubby stuff grows up, chokes out the weeds, but it is not a groomed park at all. It's a swash of eventually big trees and underbrush. And that's what the idea was. I know people have called me wanting, we should be in there weed whacking it all down and everything, but that's not the design of an urban forest.
Someone want to mention.
That's what you want, then there's.
That the Girl Guides planted in there too.
Yes, Mr.
So
Silver.
through your worship, yeah, Councilor Vasey's exactly correct. Once that undergrowth establishes itself, it chokes out the weeds and that hopefully is not a problem in the future. As well, the Girl Guides did come to the Parks Committee and we're looking for a place to plant a pollinator garden. We work with them and they work with Mike Smalls, who is our consultant on the naturalization area there. And we decided to put some pollinator gardens in at Wilpster as well.
Okay, well, as long as we know, because I'm sure we get asked regularly about it. Okay. And next I go to item number 13. We have nothing under close.
Worship.
Evening. Okay, number 14.1, I moved by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Vasey, that bylaw 81 of 2025 be a bylaw to confirm all resolutions. Council meetings held July 28th and 30th of July be taken as read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All those in favor? Carried. And I have a motion by Councillor Walbett, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen. The regular council meeting be adjourned until the next regular meeting to be held on August the 13th, 2025, commencing at 5 p.m. All those in favor? Is carried. For those that are joining with us virtually, thank you for being with us this evening. This meeting is now concluded.